towards Khafji to repulse this surprise Iraqi incursion. The tanks, followed by armoured cars, taking Qatari troops into the town to support Saudi forces. Air power has also been vital in containing and repelling the attack. Helicopters have been used to seek out enemy targets in the streets of Khafji, firing missiles at Iraqi tanks and armoured vehicles.
Flex 3509 ready. Okay. Saturn, stand by! Fire!
From positions to the south, American Marines have been shelling Khafji to harass the invading force and make it easier for the Saudis and Qataris to push them back. But the Iraqi troops have continued to fight. The Americans said last night at least 12 of their Marines had been killed.
All of a sudden, we just started taking rounds in. A couple of rounds landed where my team leader was at. He was walking outside the vehicle. He had to hit the deck. And we were about 5 feet from the fence line, and we had rounds that impacted over the fence line, hitting up against it.
In the confusion of battle, 3 Marines drove into an Iraqi-held section of Khafji. One escaped, and a rescue mission was mounted to try to get the others out.
The vehicle was there, the doors were open, their individual equipment was there. Their weapons were gone, but we saw no blood stains or no sign of them. The staff sergeant that went up ran around the vehicle looking for them, hollering U.S. Marines, U.S. Marines. We got no response, and then we had to get out of there.
On our recent visits to Khafji, it's been clear how lightly defended the town was, but it was not wholly deserted. Earlier this week, I talked to a group of Kuwaiti soldiers who had set up a base in Khafji. They'd been collecting oil from the slick on the beach. It's not clear whether they escaped the fighting. This morning, the results of the overnight battles are still not known. The American Marines say they believe around 100 Iraqis are still in Khafji, but they're surrounded. There are unconfirmed reports that hundreds of Iraqis have died.
Have is that up to 150 Iraqi troops are still in Khafji, between 100 and 150 anyway. They are effectively surrounded, as you said, but they have been retaliating with rocket fire. Saudi troops are at the forefront of the attempt to recapture Khafji. They're of course backed up by American air power and artillery barrages. There are reports that there were 2 counterattacks during the night, led by the Saudi forces, and we think now that Saudi troops are in the town. Quite what success they've had at the moment, we're not sure, but clearly the fighting is still going on. We've had reports during the night that Iraqi troops are amassing at other points along the border, possibly getting ready for more offensive action, but the Americans have said they won't be lured into any premature ground war, and there's a feeling here that the air campaign still has perhaps a couple of weeks still to run.
Was there any indication as to why they got there in the first place, when the border was supposed to be guarded by Saudi troops?
Well, Khafji itself was very lightly guarded. There were only a few Saudi troops there and a few Kuwaitis, we understand. That's what General Schwarzkopf was saying, was that it wasn't very heavily fortified. The reasons as to why they might have wanted to launch this offensive action are still being debated here in Riyadh. There are 2 theories. One is that the Iraqi troops there had got sick of just taking the punishment they've been given in terms of artillery fire that's been pounded into them by the Americans over the last few days. The other is that Saddam Hussein launched this as an offensive action, as a kind of counterattack to try to probe American and Allied strength along the border and just to give it a go.